someone asked me to go deeper onto why students are not learning. And the basic part is there's no accountability on the students' end. They can do whatever they want to do during the semester. In the last week or two, actually make a work to pass. They've been doing that before the pandemic. So during the pandemics, it's even more of an excuse because they can say, oh, this is not for me. But we all know they ain't doing nothing really to make it work for them because they're not participating in class. They're not coming to class every day. They're coming to class, the camera's off. They're not communicating with the teacher if something happens to them, or, there's no open line of communication with the teacher. So they're not really doing anything to make it work because they know they can make it all this up in the last week or two of school, right? Here's the one way is, okay, tell the parent, play victim. Oh, I'm not learning anything. Teacher's not doing this, that. The parent calls the teacher, right? Attacks them. Then, or the parent calls the admin. The admin is coming down on the teacher, right? Oh, we got to do something for this student. Or else some parents even go to the next level and take action, go to the district, right? So now teachers are having, they have to have all these receipts to prove that they're teaching to the kid, and which is crazy, but they know these kids have this that in the bag. They can always lean on that. So there's no accountability, the parents depend too much. Some of the parents depend too much on the teachers to educate their child. And during this pandemic, it shows that everybody got to do their part to make this work. If it's just on the schools, then it's not going to work. It takes a village, right? So that's another thing. It's just that people are relying too heavily on the schools. It's only so much you can do during the school day, or 45-minute period, an hour period, especially if you're academically behind. It's only so much you can do. It's crazy. That's why a lot of these kids really ain't learning anything. And then we're not talking about the kids, because people going to say, what's the pandemic? They're going through a lot. We're not talking about the kids that are going through financial struggles or lack resources, because those are the ones that work the hardest. Those kids that's going through the most are working the hardest. And I promise you that you can ask any teacher. Those are the ones that are trying their best. And if you work with us, we'll work with you. If you don't have the internet, okay, if your internet not working, you can hand the work in paper and take a picture of it. Like, teachers are finding ways to work with students, right? And I promise you, if you work with the teacher will work with you. But most of the times that's not the case. It's a handful of students doing that. For the majority, they know how to get over in the system. It's the system that's really hurting us. It's the system that's really hurting us. You know what I mean? It has to change. There's more accountability on parents and students. That's the only way kids are going to start learning anything, when they take it into their own hands, because there's only so much we can do during the class time. Especially when, let's say a period is 45 minutes, some kids are coming in 10 to 15 minutes late. So now you down to 20 minutes now, really, of instruction for some of those kids. So if you come in late to class, how much are you really learning? Because by the time you get to class, you don't know what's going on. Or if you in there playing a video game, watching TV, listening to music while you're in class, because you could be there for 45 minutes every day. You could be in class every day and still not learn anything. And that's a fact, because it's not just enough. Another thing, too, it's not just enough to be in class. You got to be participating and engaged. And because you're at home, I feel like whoever's at home is responsible for that. They should make sure that you would engage in class. It can't be all on the kid. Because, again, when we talked about the last video, a lot of these kids were not conditioned to work independently. We have to remind them for every little thing. We got to tell them how to do every little thing. So they need to get that at home. And most of the times that's not being done. Right? Sometimes when I teach class, you hear a whole bunch of noise in the background. How could you learn when it's a whole bunch of noise in the background? How could you focus on school? How could you focus on your classwork when there's a whole bunch of noise in the background? So a lot of this stuff, let's keep it real. Now, it's another thing I just thought of. If kids aren't learning and they're at home all the time, they're not in the classroom with us, they're at home, who is that really more to blame on? The teachers or your environment you're in, And it's not, and honestly, it's not the kid's fault of their environment they're in. And that's kind of the drawback of remote learning. A lot of these kids don't choose, they can't control the environment they're in, right? They can't control the environment they're in. But some of these kids are really trying hard. So if you got certain students that have so much setbacks and adversity, and they're still growing hard, then I feel like there's no excuse for anybody else, because it can be done. If it can be done, it should be done. It will be done, right? And again, people saying, oh, we got to be more understanding. We are understanding, but we can be understanding to a certain point. You got to do your part. You got to work with us. We're not saying, you got to do this work by any means. We're saying just meet us halfway, and we will meet you halfway. That's all we saying. And comment your thoughts in this video. I tried to explain everything the best way I could. I couldn't get everything in there, but let me know your thoughts on this.